The invisible ceiling, why Black women aren't reaching the C suite, and how we change that. Good morning. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Picture a CEO in your mind. See them walking into a boardroom, commanding attention, making decisions that affect thousands of lives. Who do you see? What do they look like? Be honest with yourself. Now open your eyes. For most of us, that mental image defaults to a particular profile. And that default isn't random, it's shaped by what we've seen, what we've been taught to expect, what our society has normalized. It's a picture that rarely includes Black women. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Monika Stoker, whose revolutionary work on leadership diversity has fundamentally transformed how we understand the barriers facing Black women in corporate America. Monica isn't just a researcher, she's a visionary who has dedicated her life to dismantling systemic barriers that have kept talented leaders from reaching their full potential. Her work has influenced Fortune 500 companies to completely reimagine their talent pipelines, resulting in measurable changes for thousands of women of color in the workplace. The insights I'm about to share come directly from our powerful conversation, a discussion that challenges everything we think we know about diversity in leadership. Here's the stark reality that Monica illuminated so brilliantly. Black women earn advanced degrees at higher rates than any other demographic group in America. They represent approximately 7% of the workforce, yet they hold just 1% of C suite positions. 1%. Let that sink in for a moment. This isn't just a statistic, it's a systemic failure with profound implications, not just for the talented individuals being overlooked, but for organizations missing out on extraordinary leadership potential. It represents countless voices silenced, perspectives ignored, and innovations never realized. The most surprising insight from my conversation with Monica wasn't about the gap itself. Many of us are aware it exists. What's truly eye opening is that the primary barrier keeping Black women from reaching the C suite isn't what most people assume. It's not a lack of ambition, it's not insufficient confidence, it's not inadequate qualifications. The real barrier is something far more insidious: organizational structures that systematically fail to recognize and nurture authentic leadership styles that don't conform to traditional, and let's be honest, predominantly white male models of executive presence. This revelation flips the script entirely. Instead of asking, what's wrong with these women that they aren't reaching the top? We should be asking, what's wrong with our systems that they can't recognize this extraordinary talent? Let me share three critical insights from my conversation with Monica that illuminate this challenge. First, representation in executive leadership remains critically low for Black women. As of 2025, only 2 out of 55 female CEOs on the Fortune 500 list are Black women. While we celebrate historic highs for women CEOs overall, Black women remain profoundly underrepresented. This isn't progress, it's tokenism masquerading as progress. Second, the biggest challenges are rooted in organizational systems, not individual shortcomings. Black women face what Monica calls a double bind of racial and gender bias. This means generic leadership advice isn't enough. Strategic, targeted approaches are needed both within companies and among aspiring leaders themselves. Third, and perhaps most compelling, empowering more Black women into top leadership roles benefits everyone. Research consistently shows that diverse leadership improves innovation, decision making, and financial performance across organizations. This isn't just about equity, though that would be reason enough. It's about organizational excellence. Now, let me bring these insights to life through some powerful stories Monica shared during our conversation. Consider Thasunda Brown Duckett, who became CEO at TEA in May 2021, only the second Black woman ever to lead a Fortune 500 company. Her journey illustrates both the challenges and the possibilities. Duckett navigated an industry historically dominated by white men, facing entrenched stereotypes about who belongs in financial services top ranks. But rather than conforming to those expectations, she championed inclusive talent development programs within her previous role at JP Morgan Chase. She built cross functional mentorship networks and prioritized authentic self expression over conformity. The results speak for themselves. Under her leadership, both at TIAA and previously at JP Morgan, she drove measurable gains in employee engagement and retention among underrepresented groups. Her backstory is equally compelling. Raised by working class parents who stressed education but had limited access themselves, she rose through banking via a relentless focus on results and lifting others along with her. Her visibility has inspired countless young professionals while prompting industry wide conversations around equity and finance. Or consider Tony Townes Whitley, appointed president and CEO at Science Applications International Corp, SAIC, in June 2024. SAIC is a $7 billion technology integrator serving government clients worldwide. Towns Whitley overcame implicit bias regarding technical expertise and executive presence as both a woman and person of color in tech consulting, a sector notorious for its diversity gaps. Her approach, she advocated internally for sponsorship programs focused on high potential minority employees and led external partnerships advancing STEM education access for girls and women from marginalized backgrounds. The outcomes are clear: increased representation across management layers within SAIC and improved supplier diversity metrics company wide. As the daughter of educators committed to public service values, her career path included leading Microsoft's US regulated industries team before joining SAIC's board and then executive suite. She's been credited with driving double digit revenue growth through culture transformation initiatives centered on inclusion first strategies. Her story demonstrates how investing intentionally in diverse pipelines yields not just symbolic progress, but tangible business wins. But the story extends beyond individual executives. Monica also shared fascinating data about the growth of Black women owned businesses. According to Entrepreneur HQ, 14% of all U.S. women owned businesses are now owned by Black or African American entrepreneurs, reflecting massive growth over recent decades. These entrepreneurs face persistent funding disparities with lower venture capital investment rates compared even to other minority groups, as well as limited access to established professional networks. Yet they've responded with remarkable creativity, turning toward alternative financing models such as crowdfunding or community backed microloans, while leveraging digital platforms and social media marketing instead of traditional brick and mortar expansion routes. The result? A surge in new startups across sectors including beauty tech, e commerce, retailing, wellness brands, and more, with several achieving national distribution deals despite resource constraints. This momentum accelerated post pandemic when many corporate layoffs prompted skilled professionals, including former mid level managers, to launch their own ventures out of necessity, but also vision driven purpose. These businesses serve dual purposes: economic empowerment and community upliftment. They often reinvest profits locally while acting as visible proof points, countering negative stereotypes about the viability and success potential among Black entrepreneurs. Now, let's pause and reflect on what these stories tell us. They reveal both persistent barriers and powerful possibilities. They show us that when Black women leaders succeed, they don't just break through glass ceilings for themselves. They create pathways for others. They transform organizations from the inside out. But here's the hard truth Monica emphasized: these success stories remain exceptions, not the rule. And that's not because of a shortage of talent, ambition, or capability. It's because our systems, from recruitment to promotion to leadership development, weren't designed with Black women in mind. In fact, they were often designed, however unconsciously, to exclude them. So, what do we do with this knowledge? How do we move from awareness to action? First, we must recognize that this isn't just a women's issue or a Black issue. It's a leadership issue, it's a business performance issue. It's about whether our organizations are truly tapping into the full spectrum of talent available to them. Second, we need targeted, intentional strategies, not generic diversity initiatives. Monica emphasized that companies must examine every aspect of their talent pipeline, from recruitment to retention to promotion. They must ask hard questions about who gets sponsored, who gets stretch assignments, whose voices are heard in meetings. For Black women navigating these systems, Monica stresses the importance of strategic networking, finding sponsors, not just mentors, and building coalitions of support. But she was equally clear: the primary responsibility for change lies with organizations, not individuals. Third, we need metrics and accountability. What gets measured gets done. Companies serious about diversity and leadership track not just overall numbers, but specific representation at each level. They tie executive compensation to progress. They create transparency around who's advancing and why. Fourth, we need to redefine what leadership looks like. The traditional model of executive presence, often coded as white and male, misses the diverse strengths that different leaders bring. Companies that expand their vision of what makes an effective leader discover talent they previously overlooked. Finally, we need to center the experiences of Black women themselves. Too often, diversity initiatives are designed without input from the very people they're meant to benefit. Real change requires listening to lived experiences and being willing to redesign systems accordingly. I stand before you today not just to share information, but to ignite transformation. The ceiling that limits Black women's advancement isn't made of glass, it's made of outdated assumptions, unconscious biases, and systemic barriers. And unlike glass, those things don't need to be shattered, they need to be recognized, questioned, and methodically dismantled. Today, I challenge you to become an architect of change. Look around your organization. Who's at the table? Who's missing? Whose voices are heard? Whose are silenced? What assumptions about leadership might be limiting your talent pool? Then ask yourself, what one thing could I do tomorrow to begin changing that reality? Will you sponsor a Black woman leader? Will you challenge biased promotion criteria? Will you create pathways where none existed before? Because here's the truth: this work isn't optional. It's essential, not just for Black women, but for all of us who believe in building a world where talent rises regardless of how it looks, sounds, or presents itself. The future of leadership is waiting to be unlocked, and the key is in your hands. Thank you